Thank you, Lutz. Now the recording is on. It should be
Okay.
on. Yes.
It is on. I see it.
Yeah.
Yes. So maybe I start the question from the beginning. It's about the focus point, if it's the third eye or the heart or the hara.
Mm-hmm.
And my feeling is I can easily focus on either point.
Yes.
But I feel a kind of special power in each point. And when I'm in the third eye, I get a lot of visuals.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's a little fear for me to be in the third eye, and maybe it's because when I was in my early 20s, I had a very big opening, but also very out of balance.
Yeah.
And I felt it was very connected with the third eye. So it's this. There's a little fear about that area, but also maybe that's a fear I have to go through, or I have to be more in that area. I don't know. That's the question.
You feel fear when you center there.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes, but anyhow, if you go deeper, sometimes that fear is coming.
Yeah.
It's part of the defense mechanism of the personality we think we are. That comfortable, familiar space where we live in. Somehow, it may be many times, it may be totally painful, and we want to get out, and we want to be free, and we want to go beyond. But then at the same time, there is also a certain comfort in existing just the way we have been existing all the time. And that fear, when we start to push a bit the limits, that fear comes easily. It doesn't really matter whether you're focusing on this point or that point or any point. When it has the tendency that when we go deeper, then suddenly there is that fear of, no. Fear of annihilation, fear of going in the unknown. So if that happens, that fear comes, that doesn't mean that point is not a good point. It simply means that you are starting to go deeper, and part of yourself, the old habitual part, the me personality, is afraid, doesn't want to give up, and starts to react with fear and make blocks. So when that fear comes, let that fear come. Don't fight with it, and accept, okay, there is fear. Maybe not the most pleasant experience, but so what? It's just an experience. And watch what it is doing right now to you. Watch what it is doing in your body. You know, when I'm saying center, then I don't mean we have to make our consciousness small, and then only that point should exist. You simply center, put there the focus of your attention, but if other things go on in the body, you can very well be aware of it energetically and let it happen. And so you can remain centered and watch how your body is affected by that emotion, fear, and relax. Remain centered in your third eye, but relax your legs, relax your feet. And then that fear may already start to dissipate. So don't fight the fear, don't think something is wrong because fear comes. Fear is bound to come, no matter how you go about it. Sometimes then suddenly when we are there and it's like standing at an abyss, oh, there is something infinite, there is something unknown, and the old habitual me sort of longs for it, but at the same time is afraid of it. So simply accept the fear, deal with it, observe it, relax it, and then gradually it may simply dissipate by itself. But if you feel that is really the point where you feel most powerfully centered, why not? That doesn't mean you have to completely shut out the others. And when you do Tai Chi, you can very well focus also in your Tiantian, but at the same time, if you have learned to focus much in your third eye, you still will feel that simultaneously also.
Yeah.
Right. And when you are in a situation and you suddenly feel overflowing love, automatically you will feel a lot happening in the heart center. But still you can remain centered in your usual main center. It's not that you should then be aware of that only.
Yeah, because I mean, when you said, now I can't remember what you said, but what I got to think about is it's a centering, but then it's like there's no center, or it's all the same anyway.
You can keep that center, you can keep that focus, but then your attention and your consciousness can be expansive.
Expand, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think somebody wants into the garden, but I'm not going to look now.
It was so nice to see Jasmine. So sweet. She's good on the camera. Yeah. I mean, I have been asking you about fear many times. And I think it's also part of my story, because I had this very big opening when I was in my 20s. I think I was kind of on the edge to be psychotic, for half a year. And also my boyfriend, he was a monk for 8 years in an ashram. And I met him later when he was not a monk anymore, but he also had, I mean, he ended up commit suicide. So I have this story of being afraid to open up too much. At the same time, I feel I'm so grounded now, because actually after all that experience when I was in my mid-20s, I've been working 30 years to ground myself.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's a time for me to be a little more courageous and not look so much for the grounding. But does it make sense what I'm saying?
Totally, yes.
Yeah.
Right. And the more you naturally center and relax, the less that fear will come that something bad may happen, but you just feel so comfortable in yourself. Then the more you are rooted there, the more may happen whatever. Then after all, it's all a big story. It's a magic game. It's not as real as it appears. And it's only if we desperately want to hold on to a certain aspect of reality and think this is reality, then we get afraid when that sometimes is a bit shaken up and maybe it looks totally different. If we do, I mean, that's also a main difference of the one who is in a mentally ill condition, that desperately a mentally ill person may see a lot of things that the usual people don't see and perceive. But the mystic also may see a lot of things and perceive that usually people are not seeing. But the difference is that when we get sick, that state of illness is that we somehow fall out of the center and the periphery, and there it rotates and it's terrible, and desperately somebody wants to, such a person wants to hold on to something real, and it seems to go through the fingers, and then there is just terror that comes along with it. But then if you learn to be centered, then it's like you're coming to the center of the storm, and then it can storm and do all kinds of whatever it wants around you. There is always that center, that home, that place which is not affected, which no matter what is happening in your experience, no matter what is going on in the world, no matter what is going on any level, then if you feel comfortable and at home with that, then it doesn't matter. Then actually it's enriching, even if it's crazy.
It makes so much sense. So that's also why you stress this with the center. It's to always have that like a safe haven, or yeah.
Right. For emotions, for experiences, for unusual perceptions, for everything. If you have that safe haven, if you have that place that is just not affected, then come heaven or hell.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Thank you, Werner.
You're welcome.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Is there anybody who would like to come in? Okay, I'm coming back once again. Sorry, I'm coming back once again to the question of Mariano. Mariano, I have already talked about, and unfortunately I didn't put on the recording. So I will talk a little more about it. Sorry if I make it quite short, because I have been talking about it, but yes, of course, even if you are on an Advaita way, there's absolutely no contradiction when in distress you call to higher powers. Essentially all is one, essentially all is the same, but there in that oneness, this is not the whole truth, this is a pointer at the truth, a pointer at an aspect of truth. It's good to be aware of that we are all one, that we are all connected, that essentially all is one. But in that all oneness, there is that multiplicity. And there are angels, there are gods, there are higher beings, and we can call to them. Or we can call to God the essence, abstract God. Or we can call to God the Divine Mother. Whatever you feel most comfortable with, by all means, call for help. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't handicap it with philosophical doubts because you prefer Advaita. Don't think that there is something wrong with it. Then when suddenly, like a child is calling to the mother for help, you can call to that higher power. You can also call simply to the forces of light, if it's too personal, God. But in my story, I kept on calling to the Divine Mother. That's what came naturally. Before already I said, on the practical level, you don't have hesitation to ask for help. If you have to carry something heavy into your apartment, then you call a friend to come and help you to carry it in. You don't handicap the situation by with philosophical doubts, thinking that, because all is one, I shouldn't call anyone. If you need help to carry something, then you call somebody, and that's it. There's no problem about it. And so in the same way, if you feel there is just a situation full of distress, and it helps you to open your heart, and you also call out, silently or loud, for help, then that help comes, and it helps you to detach, to let go. There's nothing wrong. Don't feel that somehow it would have bad influence on your Advaitic practice. There is absolutely no contradiction. Okay, I hope I made it a bit shorter, but I hope your question is answered. Is anybody who would like to come in?
Hi, Werner, it's Udi.
Hello, Udi.
Hi. We are celebrating today in our new year, and usually according to our religious, those days are very good day for making, looking inside and see what's wrong, what's went wrong in the last year.
I see.
And usually we are asked to forgive or to be sorry about things, or to ask for forgiveness from somebody else.
Yeah.
So, according to what you have said now, just now, if I have the understanding, the deep understanding, that there is no major or significant difference between all of us.
Yes.
What's the reason for forgiveness?
Right. Forgiveness is one of the tools that are given for the humans, for the human mind. For many people, it helps to consciously ask for forgiveness by, in that way, acknowledging that, okay, what I did there was not nice. I hurt you, so I'm sorry for it. I didn't want to do that, or I try not to do that. So that may help. To forgive others may help to let stories go that we hang on to. But actually, it is not absolutely necessary. If you become aware that there are stories that are still coming up again and again and making you emotional and tense because somebody did something bad to me and I'm getting still angry when I remember it. If you can deal with that situation in such a way that you just watch that anger and redirect the attention from the story, from the content of the situation to your experience right now, and you learn to relax it, then it all goes. And then actually no more forgiveness is necessary. Then you are not carrying that crutch anymore. And also, if you do something and after that you think, oh my God, it was not good, I have hurt somebody unnecessarily, then instead of hanging on to guilt, if you just watch that guilt, if you watch that unhappy, unpleasant feeling that comes with, oh my God, it's not good what I did, and observe what it is doing now, and learn to relax it, then your tension that are still sticking in that situation, they are also going, and it's not necessarily that you need to forgive, ask for forgiveness somebody. You just have to forgive yourself that you did something that you acknowledge is not all right. And then in the story, if you feel, if the situation comes like this and it's practical and it's natural, then you can ask, apologize to a person. But it's not that we have to go around and look for whom should I also ask for forgiveness. Somebody once on the spiritual path told me, now my practice is the whole day I'm asking for forgiveness. If you do that, then you just get stuck on that level totally, on all the bad things that I may have done, or maybe they were not so bad, but maybe they felt them bad, and one can get totally attached then to that. No. Just see, something has happened wrong. I did something not in a nice way. Next time I try to not do like this. Next time I try to do it better. Then forgive yourself. And then it's gone. And then externally, you may meet that person. It may come up but maybe the person has already forgotten, and then you just bring up the story again. If it spontaneously comes, then apologize, but otherwise don't keep it in your mind because thinking, oh, I should hold on to because I have to go and ask for forgiveness.
Okay, it's a very unique, very directed point to be concentrated in what happened inside of me,
Right.
and watch it outside.
It's all about that. The whole
Yeah.
human experience is about that.
I agree.
Right.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Hario. Udi,
Yeah,
I heard in Israel is again total lockdown. Is that true?
yeah, it's a second time.
Second
The
time now.
situation is not so, it's not so good.
Yeah, yeah,
It's worse than the first time.
yeah.
So
And
we are locked down for the next 3 weeks.
you are a doctor. Are you working in a hospital or private?
No, I'm working in a university hospital.
Yeah, yeah. And so is there a lot of stress in the hospital because of that?
Yeah, in my city, which is the capital,
Uh-huh.
all the COVID beds are already occupied.
Yeah, yeah.
A new patient should be transferred to other city.
I see.
So it's not very pleasant. And the major problem is not with equipment, but with a shortage of personnel. It's
Right.
very hard.
Right, right.
The day are very, very busy.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I wish you a lot of courage and strength.
We need that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And then you encourage also all the people around you.
Thank you very much.
Hario, Hario. Is there anybody else who would like to come in?
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Sridev.
I would like to ask what happened to the personality after self-realization? I ask this question because after realization, if you get angry with somebody, you can do a lot of damage with the whole force of universe somehow. So maybe there is a system blocking realization if the person don't have the good qualities. Maybe, I don't know.
Actually, you can say that there are natural barriers there, that as long as we are too attached to that me, I, ID and personality and its reactions, then those barriers usually stay in place. By accident, sometimes they may be breached, but usually they stay in place. You know, I'm also not more so holding on to that concept of that final realization. There may be an opening, you may rotate into a new perspective from where there is more energy, from where there is more openness and perception, but at the same time, your identification with that me must have diminished to quite a bit that this can happen. Or maybe you have an experience, but then it closes again because that identification is too strong. So you can have faith in a universal law that basically you are giving as much power as you can deal with. Now, what is happening to the personality of the realization, so-called? Actually, you know that personality never really exists. that personality is a ghost. It's just a way we have learned to perceive ourselves. And it doesn't really have any substance. It simply seems to be so substantial and so real because we recreate that image again and again and again from moment to moment. The moment we stop recreating that, it's simply not there. But no matter how deep you go, no matter how much it has opened, there is a speck of that habit there as long as we are appearing in this form, just in order to play our role in this world, just to go on with our daily life. And in that role that we are playing, it depends what kind of role. Like there's a kind of a category of saints in India called the Avadhutas. They have certainly shifted into a cosmic perspective. But they don't bother really of adjusting their personality much. So they live not according to human ideas of how to behave, what is good, what is bad. They live in their own way, but still they are not going to hurt human beings unnecessarily. Sometimes they may do things that seem to be quite bad, but actually it's always in the current of that person's karma. They may make it much easier for them that it's happening through a being like that, that they manifest something and then take it away, which otherwise would have maybe have to happen in a much more painful and long drawn out story. So sometimes these Avadhuta, they behave very crazy and very not like we think saints should behave. but they are in a cosmic harmony. They are not going around unnecessarily hurting people, doing bad things to them. And then there are those beings, their role is really to guide people. They have to, at least to a big extent, to adjust to the human standards. Otherwise, people cannot feel comfortable with them. So they behave more in a saintly way, but then saints also get angry. But then that anger is a momentary, it comes, it's there, it may fulfill a purpose and it's gone. Sometimes people say, but then a guru is simply playing anger. No, these beings, they experience the anger when it's there. But it's not that overwhelming anger that I'm getting completely blown away by that anger, but it's just a conscious acceptance. There is anger now, and a conscious decision, and now this anger can be expressed, and something can be accomplished with that expression of anger. But the delusion that I am this personality won't be there. It's simply that the awareness, okay, somehow or other I'm appearing in this world, somehow or other I have to behave. So I'm keep on playing that role. Somebody who has been brought up in a certain country will still speak that language and maybe not know that other languages. So that role continues, and yet the awareness is there. It's just a role that is being played. It's not what I am, and that makes all the difference. Then the emotions that come along with it, they are not destructive, even if there is much more power behind the experience. It's through the total identification that everything has the tendency to become destructive if we go on the negative side. The speck of that personality will be there as long as you are appearing in this form. Otherwise, you stop. Maybe you sit down and don't move anymore until the world disappears. But as long as we are moving around, as long as we are meeting people, dealing with people, then a speck of that personality is there, but it's always seen, okay, it's a role I'm playing in the theater of this world. Then you don't take it so serious. You don't think that's what I am. You just, okay, I'm playing that role. I can play that role with a lot of enthusiasm. Sometimes I'm crying, sometimes I'm laughing, and it's still a role, the role I'm playing in the theater of the world. And sometimes there may be anger. Okay, the anger is there, it's manifesting, it's expressing, but it doesn't become destructive. As long as I think, I am a separate person. And then when the anger comes and there is a situation, and then I may also still see the anger, but then I think, look, I have to now teach them a lesson. Then if this kind of feeling is there, then you better pull the brakes and think, no, actually, it's still very much the me, having all kinds of ideas, what is right, what is wrong. And so if we have the possibility to see it, but often we just being identified with the personality in course of a situation, we just get totally overwhelmed and blown away, and there is not a thought of manifesting anger or not manifesting anger, or being detached from it. And then only after, when the situation is finished, then when the mind calms down again, then the perspective comes back. And there, if that has happened, then we can at that time at least make sure that we are not holding on to that me identification. I'm right, they are wrong. I'm right, they are wrong. It's good what I did, but simply see the situation, see the emotions that are still there. See, okay, somebody may have insulted me, and I totally lost it. But right now, I'm just watching what that remaining rest of anger is still doing in my system, and relax it. Let it go out of the system instead of keeping it, holding on to. And once you really shifted out of that identification, even if for moments you identify a little, but basically you are aware this is just a role that you are playing, then these things simply won't stick. There is a situation, there's maybe an explosion of anger, then the situation goes, and you let along with the situation, the whole thing go. And you are again new and fresh and beautiful. Okay. You have any other question you want to ask right now?
Thank you, Werner.
Hari Om. Hari Om. You are welcome, as usual. Is there anybody else who want to come in?
Hello, Werner.
Hello, Nelly.
Hello. Hello. I have a question about spirituality and diseases. As far as I understand, some spiritual people have serious diseases, physical diseases, like Ramana, for example. But as far as I see, that no one from spiritual people have some mind diseases. Is it right to say that they can't have some mind diseases, some mind disorders? So mental disorders and so on, because they have some clarity and clarity in their mind and calm inside. Is it right or not?
Yes and no. It depends where you are. I mean, spiritual people, you can be on any on any level and call them spiritual people.
I see. I mean deep spiritual, realized people maybe.
Right, a being like Ramana is not going
Yeah.
to have a mental illness.
Yes,
No, right. But there is a certain point, and if you go beyond that, there is no mental illness in that sense possible. Now, the body may get infected, and the brain may get heated up, and somehow this may manifest then somewhat not very pleasant and harmonious for others. That still can happen. Or also, it is also possible that the being like this starts to really withdraw already from this level more and more, and appears to be for others quite getting more and more senile. While in their own experience, they may be cosmic, but whatever little rest they keep in on this human level may so slowly shut down, and then that can happen. But actually they are not mentally ill, even if people think, oh my God, poor, poor creature has also gotten that dementia. But to really lose it, Anita, you should turn off your microphone because you are interfering, please. Okay, Nelly, say something, then you come back in the picture.
I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, you are back in full size.
Yeah.
Mentally ill in that sense, after a certain point, you don't get, because that identification with the me person is not there, and then you don't create all these scenarios that create the mental illness. Still, people, great beings may behave sometimes in strange ways, and other people may not understand. As I mentioned, avadhutas, sometimes they appear to other people just as crazy people, but actually they are not crazy. They still may behave crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that certainly is possible. But actually they are not crazy. They are centered, they are at ease, they are in harmony. But still they may behave in ways that people may think they are crazy.
Okay. Okay, I see.
So you cannot just now make a pattern and say, if somebody behaves like this, he cannot be in a good state. Or if somebody behaves like that, because you may from outside not really see what's going on. But you, for yourself, you have totally the right that if somebody behaves in ways that you feel, oh, I cannot connect with that, it rather repels you, then you have the right to keep your distance. And then you don't need to worry about, are they great or are they not great, in what kind of spiritual state they are. And even if other people come and say, oh, but they are great Mahatmas, if you don't feel a resonance, if you feel somehow you don't want to have anything to do with them, then keep a safe distance. You are fully right to do so. But you need
Yeah.
not, you need not stand in judgment over them and put them in a category and say they are like this and they are like that. You can just accept, okay, even if they are great, it's certainly not my cup of tea.
Yes, I see, Werner. I understand this. And I asked this question because of one more reason. I have one more reason. Because I have some people in my around me that lose their mind. They are not young people. They are over 60 or 70 years old. And I thought about this, why it happens. They don't meditate. And I thought maybe this diseases happens when we are overwhelmed with our emotions and with these thoughts, and if we can't survive with it, maybe that's why all these diseases, mental diseases come to people. I've just thought about this question.
Right, and you are not wrong, but it's just one aspect. I mean, so many things come together to make the present situation as it is. And,
Yes.
and definitely somebody who tries to live alert and learns to live more and more alert through meditation, through yoga, through spiritual exercise, with the help of spiritual exercise, and learns to live more and more in that timelessness of the now, that possibility that such mental diseases should come is getting less and less and less. That's for sure.
Okay, I see. I see. Thank you very much.
So it's also worth for that for the future. to the best you can do for your old age is not worry about your old age, but to live here now happily, consciously, joyously.
Yes, I do this.
Yes,
I do. Yes.
That's good.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om. Is there anybody who right now wants to come in? So actually, I will come back to your question, Anita, short, and you are welcome to come in if you like. Because before we have not recorded it, and actually it's a question that is touching many people now. Hello, Anita.
Hello, Werner.
It's late in the night in your place now.
It is no, not that late. It is it's 8:30 p.m.
That's bearable, huh?
Yeah, but you know, it's for me, it's my rest time.
Okay.
I
Sorry.
rise early. No, that's okay.
I like to talk short about
Yes.
what you said. Can you just maybe outline your situation once again shortly?
Yes, I'm living in Melbourne, and in all the world, it has the most draconian overreach of the government to lock us down because of this virus. There's no other area in the world that is imparted so much pressure on their population, locking us up and curfews and all sorts of things. And what it's creating is this kind of ambient anxiety and distress in the population, you know, and in myself too, you know. At times I succumb, and I work in a clinic. I treat people, so I have a lot of people that come in, and every one of them can't sleep, can't you know, have much anxiety, much distress, and that's sort of the ambient I mean, on a beautiful day like today, a summer's day, there were so many lovely people out in the park, and they'd taken all their masks off, and they, trying to live a bit. But I mean, actually, it was illegal, but still, they just so didn't want to miss this beautiful day,
Yeah.
So I was saying that the distress of that, when you've got this huge amount of anxiety and despair around you, which is brought on by politicians and circumstance, that it's very difficult to remain in the center, in the heart space, because it's because there's this great a move. I mean, I'm familiar and very close to the heart center, but my anxiety sometimes overtakes me, and my despair as well. So that was the main point about how to manage something which is, it's not just my daily kind of coming and going into anxiety. I don't normally suffer anxiety, but it's this overreaching social anxiety that's going on at the moment.
Right. And of course,
and totally unreasonable. There's no way to understand it.
it's around the world. It may be an intense place where you are, but it's around the world that
it is, yes.
Current of fear is tremendous.
Yes, and it's being fostered. That current of fear is absolutely being fostered by our politicians and our mainstream media for no good reason.
Right. I mean, they may have their reasons, hoping.
Yes, that's right. It's true.
The negative,
no obvious reasons.
the negative forces, they have their reasons to do so, but actually, something I haven't said before, there is also the opposite happening, that somehow in the long run this is going to backfire. The forces of light are mobilizing strongly and manifesting in the world, and eventually all those things that brought this situation about with negative destructive intentions, they will have to let go. Something very beautiful is happening, and actually at the same time there's a lot of fear. At the same time there is also a lot of awakening around the globe happening, that people start to open up, and we have the possibility now to really sort of come out of this and start a new chapter. But it depends how people acting, and what I said to Anita before, we cannot really change the others, but each one can work on themselves. And the more we work on ourselves, the more we have an influence on the whole. Each one counts, each one is part of the whole. And if the whole humanity learns to be more conscious, then we really have the chance in this situation to emerge from this situation, building quite a more harmonious world and harmonious society. And one easy help, which I mentioned before, is to find out, everybody can find out for themselves, where is the point in my body where I'm centering most naturally. It can be the heart, it can be the third eye, it can be the throat, it can be the hara, it can be even on top of the head. Most of the time it's more helpful if we do that in a place where there is already an energy center. Ramana Maharshi had said the heart on the right side, but there is a strong energy center in the middle, and there is a strong energy center on the right side of the chest. So it's not a contradiction. If we focus there, it's not because we are in one place more than in another place. It's simply, if we have, it's a mental help. If we have a place where we naturally center and then practice that again and again, then it becomes more natural and more easy, and it becomes a very strong help for the mind, that even in tense situations, all we have to do is to center and relax, and already the situation is different. Because of that, it's very helpful if we choose one place. That doesn't mean under exclusion of the whole rest of our psychophysical system. So it's a great help to be aware of that center, to have every day some time where we are doing nothing else, but being here now, centering, relaxing, breathing, or we can meditate in a different way, but connect your meditation with that centeredness and relax. These two aspects. If there is some other way we are meditating, we can forget about the breath. But it's a very helpful way in the situation, in the active situation, when we are with people, when we become aware how overwhelming their emotions are, how overwhelming their despair is, then instead of trying to desperately create a wall and protect ourselves, be aware of their pain, be aware of their despair, at the same time center and relax. The more you are capable of centering and relaxing, the more you become transparent. Then these energies, you are feeling them, you are experiencing them, but they are going through and they are not sticking in the system. And the more you are capable of touching that point in you that is not affected, the more it's like something very beautiful, very powerful, very strong is radiating through you. And people who come in contact with you are getting nourished by it and inspired to also more try not to slip into that stream of fear and despair, but to also touch more in themselves that life, that beauty, that joy of existence that is still there no matter what is happening, even if it's buried under the emotion. So everybody can contribute that this situation is improving, but definitely for ourselves, for our own life, things start to change. If we, instead of fighting with what is happening, instead of fighting the emotions that are there, accept them, they are there, but at the same time connect with that aspect that is not affected by it and let that radiate more and more. In that way, our life becomes happier, more joyous, more beautiful, creative and expansive, but at the same time, there is also an influence we are radiating that helps, that inspires others also to do that. But ultimately, everybody has to do it for themselves.
Yes. Beautifully said, Werner. Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for coming back once more, even if it's your wasted time. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to come in? Please come. If not, then I'm replying to a question Marie has written. Marie, who prepares all these clips from the satsangs in January and for the YouTube, because in the last one she prepared, the discussion was about doership. Doer, not the doer. And it seems in the context of that, I've been telling about my story that coming from Advaita, having that idea, that concept to detach from the doership, so holding on to the idea, I'm not the doer. In spite of trying, then most of the time, being totally sucked into that me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And then at a certain point, it was like a cosmic force took over, and it was really an experience that I'm not the doer, that there is a cosmic will running this show. Now, Marie asked me to elaborate about that. It was like at a certain time there was that conscious contact with what I had called and what I then still called and what actually I'm still calling today the Divine Mother. Previous there was that heart contact there, but somehow I always felt it's a one-way it's a one-way conversation. I call and there is no reply. Later I understood there was always a response, but I was not aware of it. But anyhow, suddenly there was that conscious contact, and it was that the Divine Mother really took over. And for some time, I was just an instrument. But then very soon it was being made clear, okay, this is just a state. This is a state where you can let go of a lot of stuff that has been hanging on, guilt of the past, attachments of the past, also judgments of others of the past, living, being aware, it's all a cosmic doer. It's all a cosmic will that is running the whole story. But very early it was being made clear, but this is just a state. There is also that being that is manifesting in this world. And that being has its own creativity. And it's part of the divine game that there is a certain freedom there. The divine will take over and somehow always weave it in a cosmic tapestry, that it fits in the whole cosmic picture. Sometimes that divine will completely take over and we cannot wriggle a finger. And for me, for sometimes, that was that conscious experience. It was a great liberation. It was like a lot of old stuff that I still carried along, that tensions about the past, guilt about the past, I could let go, and it's all God's doing. It's not me. In that sense, it was a liberation, but it was being made clear, don't get stuck there. Eventually, you have to go beyond that instrument state and again start to act as if you had the choice. With the knowledge that everything is part of the divine will. But it's part of the divine will that the person incarnate, well, the being that is projecting in this world. The person is just a momentary phantom that we are creating. But the being that is projecting in this world and lives this experience of being a human has that innate freedom of turning left or turning right, basically. Still, the cosmic will often turn it around the other way so that it fits. But that we have that freedom and we have that possibility to bring our own creativity, beam it in the current of events. That's the point of manifesting all this. Not simply that somehow by cosmic mistake we have fallen out of the unity, so we have been punished to be born in the world, and then finally, as a result, as the great liberation, come again back where we started, in the oneness. No, it's that divinity likes to express itself and likes to create an environment like this world where we have the possibility to express our creativity and to express ourselves. But at a certain point, we let go of that obsession. Me, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And for that, it's very helpful to pick up for some time the opposite idea. I'm not a doer, I'm not a doer. And maybe my testimony from what I just have been telling helps to inspire of learning to let things take their course, learning to let things unfold by themselves. But then at the same time, we can learn to give, in spite of that, our own beautiful creativity into the situation. And then, okay, I said, and Mary asked about, okay, at a certain point, a cosmic power takes over. But then you go beyond, at a certain point, the question doesn't really rise anymore. Am I the doer? Am I not the doer? It's more and more, it's becoming such a harmony, and you don't even think about. The question is not answered, it simply disappears. I'm doing this, and being the cosmic will that is manifesting this becomes a harmonious game. But it has been for me very helpful to have that period to consciously experience I'm not a doer. And I was reminded when I started to forget it from the cosmic side, the Divine Mother kept on reminding me in funny ways, with pictures, with all kinds of impressions. Hey, I'm the one who is holding the wheel. What are you fretting? What are you screaming about? What are you again making a fuss? I'm the one who is holding the wheel. It has been very helpful, but then at the same time, it was made clear, okay, this, take a rest, breathe deeply on that, but it's time after that also to go beyond that. As long as we are totally immersed in that, I am the doer, I am doing this, I'm doing that, it's very helpful to for some time pick up the opposite concept and learn to feel I'm not a doer, learn to feel things are happening. Like in the Zen arts, they are trying to come to that, they are practicing that, of learning to do things and at the same time let them happen. Like the one who is doing archery is shooting the bow, and first of course it's the mind, and I have to learn the technique and then get the arm stronger and get the better and better in it. But then the point is that gradually this is happening by itself. The same actions over and over and over again. That not that I'm shooting, but just take the bow, take the arrow, take the bow, and let that shooting happen. So they are consciously practicing that which eventually becomes the natural way of functioning. That you are giving your impulse, you are giving your creativity into the situation, but at the same time you're relaxed and you let it happen, and the two come together. I'm the doer, I'm not the doer is not more a question. It's not that's one concept or the other concept. Simply the concepts drop off and are not more a question one has to bother about with all the time. Okay, Marie, I hope what you were asking for has been answered. Is there anybody else who would like to come in right now?
Hello, Werner.
Hello.
Hi.
Andrea.
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask you about something I've been experiencing in the past days. It happens, and I feel it's truly coming just by grace. Experiencing this immense, and I think this is what people call presence. I wouldn't know what to call it, but it's so strong and just everywhere, and there is this change of perspective, but it's most of the time it seems to almost be externally induced. and I would swear unequivocally that I am high. It doesn't feel at all normal. And some very, but I'm not. But I would swear I am. It's that strong. And then some very intense experiences happen. Like I can see the personality dropping. Like someone take off a shirt, and another side of the personality come, like changing a T-shirt. And this all can be observed. And in such a strong field that it does bring to mind, like, wow, am I going crazy? And then like a high comes, then it just goes, and I'm back in the low. And then when I was in one of these, and it can last many hours, even a couple of days, when I was in one of these states, I had the fortune of being in the presence of someone who's very calm and very soothing. And I could sense the same sense of presence, but it was not something that's holding me by the head and shaking me. It was something one could rest on.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I wanted your advice, because when it's so appalling, it's not a problem. It's not something I cannot handle. But there is this doubt: could I be going crazy, or should I try to ground, or should I just give myself to it and have my personality melt in front of me, or should I try to be soothed and calm? Or I don't know what advice you can give me.
I mean, it's good that you examine yourself, that you watch what is going on, but that doesn't mean you have to stick it out in your room and never go out. And if you have the possibility to be with people that you feel supported, you feel it's suiting the whole story, then there is absolutely nothing wrong. Just don't get an addict of it. Don't depend on them. But if life presents you so easily the possibility, then you don't need to refuse it. you can take the little helps that come along, but at the same time, it's good to be aware. I mean, I myself have to learn to detach from that I'm not getting sucked into that dark space again and again. But as long as it happens, then you observe it as good as you can.
No, but it's not dark.
Huh?
It's very intense. It's not dark. It's extremely luminous, but it's very intense. It's like this presence all around, but so strongly. But it's not dark at all.
No, but
it's
you
like
said
being tripping and yes, yeah. When the high comes down, yeah. But that's not an issue, because I'm not fully identified with it anymore. My question is more how to deal when this extreme
I see.
presence come and I feel I'm tripping for hours.
Yeah. Well, you center and relax.
Okay.
Don't be afraid of it. But if it's not that, also for that, you don't necessarily have to stick it out in your room. If you feel it's getting so much that you need to move, then move. Walk. Or be with people. Have a chat.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, but could it happen that instead of continuing in the path towards liberation, someone just goes crazy instead? Like that's the thought that comes in my head, I think, that creates the distress.
Yeah. Of course, people have gone crazy on the way, but you need not be afraid of that. You just learn to center. You touch that space in yourself that is not affected. And then sometimes it may be a bit tripping and a bit crazy, but then if you are not afraid and you relax in it, then it's nothing bad. Then there is nothing bad with it. Oh, I think my computer was complaining that the battery is finished, but I have the current right beside. So now the current is on. Have you heard everything I said?
Yes, I have.
Yes, right. If you learn to keep in touch with that aspect of you that is not affected, then it doesn't really matter how intense it is. You just watch it, let it come, let it go. But if you feel your system needs a bit of respite from just sitting there and confronting that, then by all means go, walk.
Okay.
And if you have
But
people who give you a loving support, if that comes by itself, then you can very happily accept it, as long as we are not thinking, I need that, I need that, I need that.
okay.
Yeah.
And in a way, if all these very intense things can be allowed to happen, like having the personality change and drop from a grounded place, this is good, right? It's good to let it play as much as it can, as these things that are just releasing out.
At the same time, you become more aware you are not that person. So these
Yeah.
are just aspects of that role that you are playing. It's not what you are. You are that which is aware of all this. You are that which makes the experience possible. Get rooted in that, and then whatever happens to the personality is not so terrible.
Yes, I think now the attention is going too much into the experience and even into this thought of, wow, what's happening, or oh, am I going crazy? But as long as the attention is turned, then everything is okay, right?
Yes, everything is okay. Yeah. And if you have too much doubt, you contact me again. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Don't worry. Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om, thank you.
I see it's already time is advancing. Is there anybody who wants to really talk about something today? Otherwise, actually, I'm going to stop the satsang for today. But if somebody really would like to come in with something, we can go. Seems not to be the case, so I'm turning off the recording again.